Okay, so in this video, I really wanted to kind of take a slightly deeper dive into Metro 2 and what it is and how you can leverage it for your clients. Let me say right up front that it would be virtually impossible to give you a complete comprehensive course on Metro 2, how to use it, and and how to create your own Metro 2 compliance challenges in the time we have. Okay, that would be a much longer course, several hours worth of content, and so this is just not designed for that. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit later why you don't actually need that. But let's talk about what Metro 2 is. When I know you've already watched the last video, right? In the last video, I kind of did a side-by-side with factual disputing, or what a lot of people consider factual disputing, and Metro 2, okay? And one of the things that I said was that, hey, factual disputing is pretty much dead, and I stand by that today. I made that video after having I don't want to say heated conversation, but it was a strongly worded conversation with a proponent of factual disputing. Now, that's not to say that he actually gets his client's results, right? But he knows the law back and forth. But that's not the same as actually getting client results. Okay, so there's a big difference in the way these two things are played out. Okay, so real quick, let's do a real quick overview. All right, remember that laws like the FCRA and the FDCPA, those were made by politicians, and just like in every other sphere that politicians ever meddle in, most of the time they don't have any real understanding about what it takes to operate inside that sphere. Okay, if any of you know any teachers, right, and Allie's a teacher. Any of you that know any teachers know that a lot of times they are governed. What they have to do in a classroom is governed by politicians or administrators that either have never been in a classroom or have been gone for so long that they don't remember what it's like to function inside a classroom and what it takes and what works and what doesn't. Okay? A lot of this is the exact same. Just like Allie gets told by people who have no idea what it takes to be a real teacher and what these kids actually need, and what translates well from theory into practice. The credit industry is guided by these two laws, the FCRA and the FDCPA, that take no account of making something standard so that it can get reported correctly across a wide variety of industries, right? Because obviously, the things that need to get reported for a mortgage are going to be different than the things that need to get reported for an auto loan, right? And if it's an auto loan, is it going to be a credit sale or is it going to be an installment loan? If you have student loans, are they going to be private loans or are they going to be government-backed loans? If you've got a credit card, is it a secured credit card? Are you a joint user? Are you an authorized user? Is this a primary line? There's all sorts of things that are different there's all sorts of different industries that have to ultimately put information onto a credit report, right? It has to be submitted to the credit bureaus. The bureaus have to then put it on the report. And because all those different industries would want slightly different things on the credit report, they had to create a universal reporting language so that everyone has to report the exact same way. Because if they had to take in information differently from all these different industries, then there would be no way that any of this was ever accurate ever. So they created Metro 2, and Metro 2 is that universal reporting language, and it is used to standardize the way everyone reports. Okay, so if you are a company that is reporting information to the credit bureaus to be placed on the credit report, then you are using Metro 2 software. Okay, now, if you're using Metro 2 software, then you are subject to the CRGG. The CRGG is the manual that kind of outlines the regulations and the instructions on how you have to report and what the proper reporting method is. Okay, and it outlines these requisite reporting standards. And these have to be adhered to in order to maintain the accuracy, the integrity, and the reportability of any account. And this is going to be different than just the accuracy itself. And I want to show you real quick something here. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here we go. This is actually from the CRGG, right? You have a copy of this there in your in the account there. Credit Reporting Resource Guide. This is from the Consumer Data Industry Association, right? And this lays out the regulations for anyone using METRO2 software to place information onto the give information to the credit bureaus. It says this is what you have to do. Okay. Notice that it's 359 pages long, right? It's very, very long, very, very detailed. Okay. Let's go down to this so you can see it, right? Here's what I want you to see, right? Now, if you are properly using a METRO2 software, right? The CDIA actually has higher standards for reporting than the FCRA or the FDCPA does. Okay, why? Well, because politicians don't need to be the ones, setting the standard, right? The industry has to hold itself to the highest standard possible. And so what it says right here is the feature of the METRO2 format is that it meets all requirements of the Fair Credit Billing Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, okay, and all applicable state laws. So it holds itself to a higher standard than any of these individual laws. Okay, and that's important to remember. It's important to remember. And something that you need to know is this right here. This is an excerpt from that manual. It says any deviation from these standards jeopardizes the integrity of the data. And what happens is, once this information and the integrity of this information can come into question, then the entire reportability of that account comes into question. And you can contest that without actually having to say that there's an error. Okay, so let me give you a couple examples, because the best way that I know how to describe it is, everyone had that math professor in college or that math teacher in high school, and during an exam she would tell you that you have to show your work. Okay, you have to show your work. She wanted to know how you arrived at the answer that you got. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for this. She wanted to make sure you weren't cheating. She wanted to make sure you weren't guessing. If it was like a multiple choice test, right? She wanted to make sure you weren't guessing. So she wanted to know that you actually knew how to do your assignment, do your work. But what if she gave you some extra instructions, right? Because she's allowed to do that. What if she said use a pencil for your work? What if she also told you that once you get your answer, use blue ink to put a circle around it so I can see it. And then after you put a circle and blue ink around it, I want you to highlight it. Okay, these are her instructions. They're very clear. She's telling you exactly what to do. She doesn't just want the answer itself. She has instructions on other aspects besides just the answer. Okay, so let's talk about little Johnny here. Poor Johnny. He hands in his paper. It's written in red ink, not in pencil. And the only thing he did was wrote the answer next to the question and nothing else. Well, let me ask you, right? We've all had this teacher. How does she grade that test? Okay. At this point, does it matter if he got the right answer or not? Okay. She has no idea how he got the answer. She's got no idea where that came from. She has got no idea if, it wasn't one of those situations where you put a million monkeys in a room and over 1 billion years they might be able to write, the Iliad. Okay. She's going to grade it wrong. It's going to be wrong. Okay. And before you kind of get to thinking that doesn't necessarily matter, right? Because the answer is accurate. Think about this. Say if you were to go here, let me take a drink real quick. I'm getting parched. Say you were to your significant other, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend or girlfriend. Say they were going to McDonald's, and you wanted a burger, and so you asked them to get you a burger, right? Well, which one of these burgers is the correct answer? They're all burgers. They're all from McDonald's. They're all vastly different. Okay, they're all correct. So there's a difference between being correct and following instructions. What if you had told your significant other, please order me a quarter pounder with cheese, but ask them to add lettuce, tomato, and bacon? Is that this? Right? Is that this one? No. Is that this one? No. No. If it's only the burger that you're looking for, then any one of these is correct. However, if you have specific instructions, then which one is correct? Just this one. Only this one. Okay? And that makes a big difference in how we're going to do things. Okay? So, compliance challenges. It's not just disputing the accuracy of the account or even the collectability of account. What that means is that this could be a completely valid account. Right? It could be within the statute of limitations. We're not saying when you use a METRO2 compliance challenge, you're not saying that this may not be accurate. You may use some possible inaccuracies to contest the METRO2 compliance, but you're not saying that this is not accurate, and I'm going to show you why. We're also not saying that it can't be collected, okay, because collectability is a completely different aspect. This is going to focus on challenging the reportability of the account based on METRO2 requisites. Again, remember, if it does not adhere to those METRO2 reporting requisites, and the integrity of the data is such that the entire report can come into question, then it can be removed off of the credit report. Okay, and it has nothing to do with whether or not there's an accuracy or not. So here's this. There are 47 base segment character fields, taking up 366 alphanumeric bytes and 60 additional numeric digits equaling the requisite 426 character P6 statement. Okay. I gave you kind of a resource so y'all can see this. I will pull it up real quick. This is going to be your METRO2 in 10 pages. Okay, this is going to be a list of a decent chunk of the 47 base segment fields. And these 47 base segment fields, most of them are going to be required. Then there's going to be some that are going to be optional if it applies. Then there's going to be some additional industry-specific coding requirements. Okay, and so let's see if I can explain this. The industry-specific. Let's go down to if you want to pull up your 2020 METRO2 manual, you can go down to page 22. There you go. So here's where we can get into industry standards, because they're different. Remember, banking, savings and loan, credit union. Okay, they have certain standards that they have to follow, right? Different ways that they have to enter information into those base segment fields. Okay, now listen, these are not the same as child support agencies. Okay, these are not the same as credit cards. Okay, now look, let's just take a real quick guess. Let's look at right here, base 9, account type, 1837, 2A, 8A, or OG or 0G, right? Remember, that is base 9 for account type. Let's go back up here. Base 9, account type. You don't see those things, right? You don't see those things. So it can still, if the coding itself is not right, then even if the answer is right, if this coding is incorrect, then it's not right. Okay, it is not accurate as to METRO2 standards, even though the answer that is displayed on the credit report may actually be the same, because these have industry standards that don't line up. And so if you're using the standard that is accurate if you're using the correct standard for installment loans and lines of credit, then that information may be vastly different than what should go over here into credit cards, even though the word that reports here might be the same. Okay? Credit cards, debt buyers, loan finance companies, mortgage lending, more mortgage lending, retail accounts, sales finance companies, right? They all have account type. All this stuff is here. And, so when you look at an account that has an account time showing, that may be the same, that may be accurate, right? It could actually be a charge-off, right? But you can have charge-offs in all different industries, right? Pretty much every industry you can have a charge off for the most part. But if it's not done in the correct coding, then that in itself is contestable through METRO2. Okay, so let's go back to this real quick. All right, there you go. Even if these data fields are contested and cannot be certified as perfectly compliant, the integrity and reportability of the entire account is called into question. What that means is that if you can't prove to me, we're not saying that anything is inaccurate. What we're saying is that we are contesting that you cannot prove, you cannot certify that you are perfectly compliant in regards to METRO2 standards. Okay, the METRO2 standards that are outlined in this 359-page manual. Right? Oh, see all these, all the different record layouts. See all that? Field definitions. So, even if the answer itself is correct, if you are not accurate, there goes some more account codes by type. If you're not accurate in or compliant in METRO2 standards, then the reportability of the account itself gets called into question. Okay, so let's go back. This is valid even if the account is accurate in all other respects. What that means is that you don't need an error. You don't need an error. Now, if you are a proponent of factual disputing, then this one sentence right here beats you all to pieces. All right, because in order for factual disputing to be effective, there has to be an error. And what a lot of people think are errors could possibly very much not be errors. Okay, and I'm going to show you this in just a second. These are very effective when properly executed because of everything that we just talked about. So let's move on real quick. So here's a sample account. Right? There's some things that like this right here, date reported. Oh, and actually, let's talk about balance owed. Say this is a credit card, right? And a lot of folks want to point out, like, if this was different all the way across here, factual disputing people would be like, oh, hey, that is inaccurate, and you have to remove it because it's inaccurate. Well, it may not be, right? If this is a credit card, there's no guarantee that, like, say this is a Best Buy credit card through Citibank. There's no guarantee that Citibank reports to TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax all on the same day, because they may not, or they could report on the same day, but they report at different times of the day. So if a balance the balance could have been paid by later in the day or the next day. So a lot of that kind of stuff that the factual disputing guys will point to may not actually be an inaccuracy, and all you're doing is wasting your client's time and their money, and that's it. And you're wasting your effort, right? You're still getting paid for it because they pay you by the month or by whatever, but you're wasting their time, you're wasting their money because they're paying you whether you get results or not for most of you. So go ahead and follow along with me. We're going to just kind of highlight some of this stuff. The first thing you have to do is know kind of what these base character segment fields are. And if you want to follow along with me, you can go to page 41 in your in that METRO2 manual. Okay, go to page 41 of the METRO2 manual. I'll give you just a second to get there. You can pull it up and check it out while I take a drink here. Okay, so let's just start. Talking about things. As we said, these are going to be industry-specific standards. Some of them are going to be required. A lot of them are going to be required. Some of them are only going to be required if it is applicable. Okay? So what we know is if you just start, we'll just start at account number here and we'll go down. Account number here and go down. Your account number is going to be base segment character field 7. It is required. The high balance is going to be base segment character field 12. it is required. Last verified is base segment character field 2, also required. Date of last activity actually isn't in the base segment character field. It's going to be in the header code. Okay, the header code is going to be header code 8. The date reported right below it is going to be I'll just say BSCF, so base segment character field. It's BSCF 24. It is required. Date opened is BCSF 10, and it is required. Balance owed is base segment character field 21. It is required. Close date is going to be base segment character field 26, and it is it's only required if applicable, right? So if this was still open and it was showing if this is a collection account or a loan that was still open, then that wouldn't be required because it's not there, right? Account rating is going to be base segment character field 17A. Account description is kind of funny because it could be a couple different things. It could be base segment character field 37, or it could be a J1 or a J2. Like a J1 or a J2 is going to be for like a joint account. J2 is more for like authorized users. Like if you think that they don't know that you're an authorized user on an account and not a regular, right? Like not a regular user when someone pulls your credit report, it's false thinking, because with an authorized user, that's usually a J2 account, and it definitely is different. Dispute status is going to be base segment character field 20. Go down to account status is going to be BSCF 17A. That is required. Payment status is BSCF 17B. It is possibly required if needed. So as the creditor marks down below, that's going to be 19. Payment amount is going to be base segment character field 15. Last payment is base segment character field 27. Term length is going to be required. It is base segment character field 22. Account type is base segment character field 9. It is required. Payment frequency is 14 and credit limit is 11. Okay, so you have to start at least being able to identify what the base segment character fields are of just these things right here, right? And obviously, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but there are pieces of the account that absolutely are not showing on a report that you can get, right? It's just for the credit bureaus to have, which is what makes METRO2 so powerful. Another reason that makes METRO2 so powerful, because when you are challenging METRO2 compliance, you're challenging things that aren't even on the report that you can see, where factual disputing obviously can't touch that. So it's a big deal, right? So let's. I went ahead and pre-made this for you. I'll go to the next slide here. So you can see it. Hold on. There we go. Let me get back over to my slideshow presentation. Okay. All right. So go ahead and mark it up for you. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to figure out where these things are correct and where they're not correct. Okay. So I'm going to pull up Paint real quick and we'll just mark it up just so you can see it. I'm not going to put anything next to it. I'll do this in red. Okay, so high balance is going to be required. You can see it's in red over here because it's required. The things that are in like that orangish yellow are only required if they apply, right? So high balance 28,000, right? Over here it only says 14,000. You mean that Equifax is reporting a initial loan balance of 14, where everything else is just 28, right? So that's going to be inaccurate. Last verified, you see that it is required here. There's nothing here. I'm actually going to copy that. There's nothing here. There's nothing. I wonder if I can do that. Maybe not. Also here, okay. The date of last activity is is no good. That's no good. And then this may, okay, so here's something that's crazy to see right here on these two. See how they're reporting on the first of the month, technically? Well, probably not, right? A lot of places don't actually report on the first of the month. What happens if a bureau is not reporting accurately and they know they're not reporting accurately? A lot of times it will say the first because they will just throw that in as a date, right? Just the first, which is, so it could be the first, but a lot of times what you'll see is it'll say like, it'll say like 8, 8, 5, 8, 7, then this, or like 8, 5, 8, 5, 8, 1, right? So it got reported probably on the 5th, but one of them is reporting it on the 1st. So that's really kind of deceptive reporting, which is no good, right? That's no, see like this right here. It reported on the 31st, but Equifax over here has it on the 1st, right? All kinds of different things. See how it's probably the 31st because you've got a couple of them that say the 31st. So these things are, that's no good. That's no good. That's no good. Possibly this right here. When it was opened, that's no good. Not having the proper opening date, that's no good. When it was closed, like what the hell, man? Here we go. Last payment, no good. Okay, and so that's just a real quickness. So now you have to know which of these things is required, which is it not necessarily required. This is finance. This is personal loan, but over here it's auto financing, right? So these are just the things that we can see. And again, we aren't necessarily saying that these things aren't accurate. What we're ultimately going to be saying is that, hey, we have pointed out a ton of discrepancies here, and we believe that just on the weight of the evidence, that there's no way that you can certify that your account is METRO2 compliant, right? And we are challenging you to show us certificate proof that it is, and that's the difference. Now, in order to do this correctly, you would have to come over here and you would have to know all of these, not only all the character fields and what's required, but what code would actually come in here and make all of these individual notations, right? Because again, you're looking at all of these, right? All of these different, pages and pages and pages, comment codes, all sorts of stuff, and you're free to go through this, which is why I gave it to you, okay? However, you don't actually have to do that, right? Because the software that we're showing you, that Prodigy software, it does it all for you. So let's take a real quick look one more time at this account. Where is it? At this account, okay, and what it actually comes up as in a Prodigy letter, okay, because this is important for you to see. Now the software, Prodigy software, is going to automatically scan the account and point out all the different questionable items on it, and send that off. And it's designed to, where's it at? It is designed to get some specific action out of the eOscar system, right? So you see those codes we put in there? It's already on here. It's pointing it out. Hey, these things are like this. All this stuff is erroneous. At least it's not. It is not visibly in compliance. So we are contesting that it is not in compliance, and we are challenging you to provide certificate proof that it is in fact in compliance. Okay. You come down here, and it's saying, hey, note this is a discontinuance of reporting request. Please attest by document demonstration the confirmation of the above claims certitude of all facts alleged to have been physically verified and validated, even to every notation, all dates and balances, any compliance condition codes, and and or any aspects for any necessary METRO2 compliance segment and field. This claim, as reported, now I love this sentence. This claim is reported as displayed hints to at least the following compliance-based issues. And so it's going to give, hey, we know for a fact that at least these things are not right. Okay? So when you are when you're doing this, right? Like, here's what I want you to know is that you don't necessarily have to be a METRO2 master, right? You don't have to be a METRO2 master. You don't have to be all the money and all the time that you spent trying to learn factual disputing, you don't actually have to do that, right? Because the Prodigy software is going to do it for you. It's going to do it faster. In 90 seconds, 2 minutes, you can process an entire file, and it's going to give you extremely powerful letters that are going to get you results. They're going to get you results. Okay. So that is just a little bit more about METRO2. If you just wanted to kind of see the manuals and that sort of thing, and again, like if you wanted to dive into it, I've included them here in the class. I will tell you that you don't have to do that, right? Obviously, like I'll never tell you that it's not wise to learn more about your industry, because the more information you have, the better you're going to be at virtually everything in life. But and I've said this several times. I would take a guru, a factual disputing guru. Okay, been in the industry for years and years and years. Spent tens of thousands of dollars on courses for the FCRA, the FDCPA, and learning how to factual dispute. Okay, and then I could take someone who is just trained to use the software, and not even as thoroughly as I'm training you guys to use the software here in this class. I would take someone who is trained to use the software, and if I were to put them side by side and, give them 10 clients each and have them, after 30 days or 35 days, we come back and we actually measured results, then I would put my money hands down on the credit repair rookie, the absolute novice, who has never had any FCRA training, who's never had any FDCPA training. And I would wager, and I'm not a betting man, I'm stingy with my money, I would wager that the person using the Prodigy software, the METRO2 software, is going to get better results every damn time. Okay, there's no amount of money that I wouldn't wager every single time, because consistently, it's going to get better results. And why? For the things that I've already listed. Like, you don't have to have an error, right? Which factual disputing, you have to have an error, unless you're going to say something dumb like, this account is not mine, I don't recognize it, that sort of thing, which is, factual disputing then has to use infactual information in order to work correctly. No good. That doesn't make any sense. So you don't have to have an error. It can call into question information that isn't even on a report that is visible to you or me or any other credit repair company, right? So you have access to all of that, and better than any of those things is, or at least as good as any of those things, is that our letters are designed to get action out of the eOscar system, right? So where a human, might never be able to understand what you're asking in one of those letters, that eOscar system does. The eOscar system knows exactly what you're asking for, and is going to put a lot of investigations in place. Okay, so just know that for my money, and again, like I put my money into this, right? I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on GAs, because that's what it's allowed me to make, $100,000 over the last year, getting client results. Okay, so just know that I can only tell you what I've done, right? And I can tell you that all of my decisions are usually based on some sort of risk-reward system, right? Some sort of return on investment system. If I'm going to spend money on it, or if I'm going to put time into it, then it dang well better get me the results that I need. Okay. And also, let me say this. Let me say this about factual disputing. One last thing. There are a lot of people that are in my Facebook group, the Compliance Blast Off group, that have taken courses from other people. Okay, and those people are, they talk about factual disputing. But even in these courses, these $2,000 plus courses, it is just a very basic introduction to how to factually dispute. I just watched one software company's advanced disputing class, and it is billed, like they've said it, this is the most comprehensive disputing class ever put together. And it was less than 75 minutes long. Okay? And the reason is that it's actually not their fault. It's not these mentors' fault, and it's not these gurus' fault, because in order for you to get a comprehensive understanding of how to factually dispute, it would take far more. I mean, it takes months and years to get the kind of experience that you need in order to be effective at factual disputing, right? It's nearly impossible. So, I kind of make fun of, not sort of poke fun at some of these mentors and things that they want to teach you how to open a business, and they want to teach you how to grow a business and get a bunch of clients, but they're not actually teaching you how to operate inside the business and how to get the results that someone in the business ought to be getting, right? They want you to bring in clients to this business, but they don't teach you how to get the results for those clients. And I do think that's kind of false. That's kind of, it's foul a little bit, and it's false advertising. However, I do understand why they can't, because if you were to try to break down every law and every application that the FCRA has in it, and how those have been applied by courts and judges in courtrooms and cases across the country for the last 20 years, then it would be very similar to me trying to teach you how to create your own METRO2 letters, right? It would be very, very difficult. But the problem is, actually not necessarily the problem, is that the benefit you have is that you have access to a software that does all that for you. Okay, so if there was a software that could scan a credit report and with the push of one button, create all the letters that you would need for that client for that month, and it would apply all the applicable FCRA laws, whether they are federal laws or the applicable state laws, right? And they could reference all the court cases that these laws have been subject to over the last 15 or 20 years and what the current precedent is. And it could do that automatically because it had that kind of database and crunching power behind it. Then that would be a badass software. Okay? That would be a badass software. And I think when people buy these softwares, like that's what they're hoping for. But that is not what dang happens. So with Prodigy, what you have is this other side of credit repair that's more powerful than factual disputing, for all the reasons that we've already talked about. And you have a software that can automate that entire process of creating letters that are more effective than factual disputing, and you can do it in no time at all, right? So yeah, hey, listen, and again, I make fun, I kind of poke fun of some of the other like gurus and all that kind of stuff out there, but I do understand how hard it would be to actually give them what they promised, right? To actually give out someone, hey, this is how you factually dispute. So it's not their fault. A lot of it comes down, it's a function of how much information is there and just how much people can retain and apply. So I hope this helped out a little bit, at least. And I hope you can take a little bit of comfort in the fact that, when I started using the software, and when you go in, you look at the results in the group, right? All the people that are posting results in the group, and ask them how much they actually know about METRO2, right? What they know about the base segment character fields, right? What they know about the header codes and the footer codes and the J1 and the J2 segments, right? If you ask them, they'll be like, I have no idea what in the world you're talking about. But they're still getting results. They're getting bankruptcies pulled, and they're getting student loans updated to positive, and they're getting all sorts of things taken care of, and they're getting the results their clients paid them for, and they don't actually know what goes into METRO2 code, right? So that's super powerful. So, I hope you can take a little bit of comfort in the fact that you've got a tool available to you that knows things that you don't, right? And it knows how to do things that you are still learning how to do. So you can get professional level results right in the very beginning, right? Which will, I'm telling you now, which will launch your business. Results beat all. Okay. So there you go. I hope it helps.